Hi everyone, my name is Manal Faiz and you're watching From Scratch. On today's episode of From Scratch, we're making cake batters. And I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Chef Gehna. Hi Chef Gehna, how are you?
I'm very well, Chef Manal. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We're very excited to have you here today.
Same here. I'm very excited to be here.
So on today's episode, we're gonna make two different cake batters. We're making a lemon pound cake and Madeleines. We are opting for a spin on both. They're not the classics, not the traditional, but they work and they're really great to have. To start off, what you're gonna need for today's recipe is some melted and cooled butter, some baking powder, just a pinch of salt, lemon zest, and this is quite a lot of lemon zest, sugar, eggs, and all-purpose flour. So we're gonna start off by whisking together our eggs and our sugar. So please, Chef Gehna, could you help me with that?
Sure. So we're taking 4 eggs over here.
Thank you. I'll grab that over here.
Just break the yolks. Then we are going to add our caster sugar and whisk them together.
So it's very important for you to do this at the very beginning because you want to kind of initially melt those sugar crystals, correct, Chef?
Yes, that's true.
And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to grab the lemon zest and just put it in our melted butter.
You know, you do this because fat carries flavor. So any flavoring that you want to add to your pound cakes, add it to your butter.
Exactly. Lemon zest carries quite a lot of flavor. So you want to make sure that your lemon zest is, that you use lemon zest instead of lemon juice in this recipe. Zest carries a lot of oil and oil carries, just like Chef Gehna says, a lot of flavor.
Yes. And there's a trick to, choosing the right lemons. They should be bright yellow. You want them to be, oily on the surface and they should be heavier for their weight. So that's the lemon that you want for your cakes.
So what Chef Gehna is doing is she's whisking together those eggs and the sugar to get that nice and melted together, nice and whisked through.
Okay, you're looking for a pale color. Once the sugar melts and there's air in the butter mix, the color is going to become like a pale yellow color. So you know how the pound cake recipe came into being? It started with the eggs. So you're going to measure your eggs. How much ever eggs you have, that's the amount of flour, that's the amount of sugar, and that's the amount of fat, the oil or butter you're going to use. So such a simple recipe, In olden days, people didn't have, recipe books and, internet to find out recipes. Recipes were passed down in a way that is very simple to remember and easy to make.
Exactly. So it's a very easy way to kind of remember. You got a pound of everything.
True.
And that's all you have to remember, that you get all the ingredients, measure out a pound,
Yes.
and then there you go.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna sift in our flour. And the reason why you want to sift your flour is just to make sure that your flour is nice and aerated and that you collect any unwanted particles. So this is very important to keep in mind. So we're gonna go all in.
Okay, we're going to add a pinch of baking soda and salt.
Exactly, so this is gonna go in. And a pinch of salt all the way in. So yes.
Salt is like a secret ingredient in baking. It carries, it elevates the flavor of anything else that you're putting in. So we're going to mix it together now, gently, not too rough with it, because we want all that air that we have incorporated with the sugars. Okay.
And then what I'm gonna do while you're kind of folding, we're gonna add in that butter. And this is starting to solidify. You just want to make sure that your butter is nice and workable. So As long as your butter is workable, it is fine to add it in. Once it starts to solidify completely, what you want to do is melt it again very gently. So all of that measured butter, you need to make sure that all of that goes in.
It's already smelling so nice with all those lemons.
Yes. Right, that looks perfect. What I'm gonna do is I'll grab that spatula again. And what we already have is a lined baking tin that has been greased and floured to create kind of like a non-stick layer. So that's very important to keep in mind. What I'm gonna do is pour this right into our tin. So a spatula is really very helpful at this stage because you could scrape off all of that batter right into your baking tin.
It's like liquid gold. You don't want to miss any of it.
Exactly. So this goes all the way in. And what Chef Gehna is actually going to show us is a really great tip and trick to keep in mind to get you a very beautiful crust. So go ahead.
So there is a signature look for pound cakes. There's a nice deep cut in the center, and that's what we are trying to achieve with this butter strip over here. Okay, as this butter melts over there, it's going to sort of create a ridge. All the steam is going to escape from there, and we'll get this beautiful domed pound cake.
This is going to go into a preheated oven at 180 degrees for around 30 minutes. Right after the break, we'll show you guys how to work on madeleines. Welcome back everyone. Our lemon pound cake is still in the oven. Meanwhile, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our madeleine dough. For that, what you're gonna need is some butter. I already went ahead and melted our butter. We're gonna brown it together. You're gonna need some baking powder, milk, eggs, bit of salt, sugar, flour, and some honey. So we're going to start off by whisking together our eggs and sugar. So Chef Gehna, could you please help me out with that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brown our butter. So it's important to work in this way because browning butter takes just a little bit of time, and you want to whisk together your eggs and sugar quite well.
Brown butter is worth the wait. I mean, the flavor that it gives to your recipes is amazing, so you really want to do that.
It gives more of a nutty flavor.
It's true.
It's really, really delicious. So having it or melting it and browning it and then adding it to your cake batter is really going to make a difference.
That's good.
So usually with brown butter, you want to make sure that you measure it after you brown it because there's a lot of liquid that is evaporated during the process. So you want to make sure you get exactly the amount that you need after. So what I do is always make a bigger batch of brown butter and then use the amount that I need.
And it stores well in your refrigerator. You can always make excess and store it in your refrigerator.
And brown butter goes with pretty much everything. Savory, sweet.
Yes.
It's just really delicious.
I hope you can hear the sizzling of the butter. It's just anticipating what the result is going to be.
So usually with brown butter, not only can you hear it happening, you can also smell it. So once this gets nice and brown, it's gonna really smell heavenly over here. Some recipes are going to call for you straining the butter out.
Yeah.
For me, I think the brown bits are gold, so I really
yes.
don't want to strain those out, and I want them to be in our batter.
And they look very nice, you know, when you bite into a baked good with these kind of brown bits, you see those little specks and they look really nice.
Yes, kind of looks like vanilla as well. Yes. So this is almost going to start browning. What we're going to do is let it slightly cool down, and then we're going to pour it right into our mixture over here. And then we'll get our batter going. Chef Gehna, could you tell us more about your history? What is it that made you go into the culinary arts?
When I was new in Bahrain, chef, there was, I had a lot of time on my hand, and while browsing through the TV, I saw these, amazing cake shows, and I think that sparked my curiosity that food can be art.
Yes.
And so I started on as a cake artist, and eventually, it brought me to baking different kinds of breads, cakes, and there was so much to explore in this field. So that's how I studied professionally and trained myself to become a chef. And then I came over to GICA,
Yes.
and I met you and lots of other amazing people here. And so this has been a very exciting place for me to try out different things and meet a lot of good people.
I agree. Chef Gehna is really awesome at her craft.
Thank you.
I would say she's an artist, to be
Okay.
honest.
Thank you so much.
So our brown butter is nice and brown. What I'm going to do is set it aside for just a little bit, let it subside and cool down slightly. And then what we're going to do is whisk this right into our sugar and eggs mixture.
Okay. I wish they could smell it. It's amazing.
It smells awesome. My favorite combo is having brown butter together with rosemary. It just
nice.
gives off this really awesome flavor and smell.
I'm going to try.
Please
Maybe
do.
with some bread.
Please do.
Okay, can I take this spatula?
Yes, exactly. Here you go.
So we're going to add some honey. Can they add something else if they don't have honey or somebody's allergic to honey?
You could swap out the honey with some maple syrup. You could even remove completely the honey and just increase slightly the amount of sugar. You could do whatever it is that you want, to be honest. As long as you get the same kind of texture, then you could swap it out.
All right. Okay, so we are going to sift in our flour.
So again, it's very important for you to sift your flour, not only for you to collect any unwanted, let's say, particles, but it really fluffs up your batter.
Right. We're going to add some baking powder and a pinch of salt, just to bring out the flavors. So Madeleines essentially is a sponge cake batter. So you want to, keep that air in. You don't want to deflate it completely. So mix it very gently.
And what I'm gonna do is slowly stream in that melted butter that has been browned. And what Chef Gehna is doing right now is she's folding all the ingredients together.
Just look at the color. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is, it really is.
So if they don't want to go through the process of making brown butter, could they just add melted butter?
Yes, I think that's completely doable.
Okay.
It's just, I really want all of you guys to try it with brown butter because it really does make a difference.
That's true.
So last component that you're gonna add is just a touch of milk.
You know, the good thing about Madeleine dough is you can always make this and keep it refrigerated until you want to use it. So if you're having a party at home and you want to do some pre-prep, you could always make this batter, keep it refrigerated, and when your guests are about to come, just bake it then.
Exactly. And it is actually said to give a better end result to refrigerate your dough and then bake it off. For today, we're gonna go kind of like in a rush and bake it off, and you'll still see that you'll get wonderful results. So what we're gonna do right now is transfer this right into our piping bag. Okay, perfect.
Madeleines have a very unique look. So if you see one shape like this, you know that it's a Madeleine, okay? So it's like a shell shape.
Just like so, just like you see, it looks very, very much like a shell. And it's very important for you to pipe very small amount and leave a very huge gap. Kind of like headspace, as you can call it, just because these madeleines are really going to puff up in your oven. You've got a huge quantity of egg whites in there as well as eggs. You've got some baking powder, which is really going to fluff up your dough.
So if they don't have this mold, is it okay to bake it in a mini muffin tin maybe?
You can. I mean, as long as you get the smaller sizes of madeleines, they can be in any shape or form. This is just a very traditional shape to have it in.
So basically what happens is the crust that is touching, the area that is touching the pan is going to crust.
Yes.
So that's going to have like a shell sort of texture, but inside it's going to be really soft and spongy.
Yes, exactly. What you can do is find molds that are different, let's say, material. What we're using is kind of like a more silicone flexible mold. There are molds out there that are made out of different material that are going to give you that really nice crust as well.
True.
So what I'm going to do right now is transfer this onto our baking tray. Just over here. And we're gonna pop this into a preheated oven at 180 degrees. These bake very quickly. These are actually mini versions. So it's gonna take around just 10 minutes to bake off. Welcome back, everyone. Our lemon pound cake is done baking. I'm just gonna take it out of our oven.
It's just so perfectly done. It looks gorgeous.
It is, and it smells amazing. So what I'm gonna do is let it rest just slightly. While it rests, we're gonna work on our glaze. So for our glaze, so we're doing two different steps for a glaze. First step is to heat up your nappage, or otherwise known as a clear glaze. And this is just gonna heat up. For the other glaze, what you're gonna need is some lemon juice, icing sugar, and some lemon zest to garnish. So what I'm gonna do right now is slightly heat this up.
Okay.
I'm gonna just put it back next to me and heat this up slightly. And this is really gonna give you a very beautiful shine for your cake. Not only that, it will also keep your cake's shelf life for a longer period of time.
That's true, and it also traps the moisture in your cake. So it makes like a skin on top of your cake, and all that moisture, the good flavor of lemon and everything stays inside the cake.
Exactly. So we're just slightly heating this up, just into a workable consistency. And
So in case you cannot find this clear glaze, you can always use your apricot jam. You can use honey, you can use maple syrup. Any of those will work just fine.
anything that kind of looks like this consistency,
True.
basically. So we're just very slightly heating this up. I don't want to bring it up to a boil. You just want it to turn into a
Spreadable liquid.
exactly, a spreadable liquid.
And we must do it while the cake is warm, right?
Yes, it's very important to do it while the cake is warm. And this is going to ensure that it kind of soaks up into the cake.
Yes.
You don't want it to kind of slide off or fall off. So our cake is slightly resting over here. What I'm gonna do is remove it out and kind of slide off that parchment paper and let it rest onto my rack over here. Doesn't it smell awesome?
It does.
It smells
does.
really
I want
great.
to dig in fact. And it's very important when you finish baking your cakes, you want to, cool them off on a wire rack. You want that air to circulate all the way from the bottom of your cake to the top completely.
Exactly. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very soggy cake.
Right, yes.
This is going to give you a very nice crisp exterior. So this is nicely kind of soluble. I'm not going to heat it up more. I was on medium heat the full time. So Chef Gehna, please go ahead with kind of glazing the cake. And as you can tell, it is going to give a very, very beautiful shine. And this is kind of a tip to keep in mind for any baked good that you have at home. Using this clear glaze is going to give you this very beautiful shine. You don't only have to use it on cakes, you can use it on croissants as well, and it's going to give you a very beautiful shine.
Right. And you see the butter step has given us a beautiful crack in the middle. So that's a good sign of, a well-baked pound cake.
Exactly.
Okay, we are done with the glaze.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm just going to set this aside for now, and what I'm going to do is also slide off our cake to cool off onto the side here. And what we're going to do is work on our other glaze for the day, and for that, again, you're going to need the icing sugar as well as your lemon juice. And what I'm going to do is pour in just a little bit of the lemon juice and kind of dilute it into the icing sugar. And this is going to give you a very beautiful kind of white glaze that's going to go on to your lemon pound cake.
So Chef, if I wanted to change the flavor of this pound cake,
You can.
I could add, say, orange zest.
You can.
Yeah, and the
100%.
glaze would be icing sugar and orange juice there.
Exactly.
More.
Just a touch more. So with a glaze that is like this, you don't want to add too much liquid in there. You want to slowly drizzle it in, just like you can see, to give you this very beautiful consistency, just like so. That's perfect. All right.
So we're going to wait until our cake cools down to add this glaze,
Yes, exactly. So we're going to wait around 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, to kind of cool down. We're going to transfer it onto our serving plate and glaze it right on top. So our cake is nice and rested. It is cool to the touch. What's left to do is finally garnish, and we're gonna be ready to serve. So what I'm gonna do is grab that glaze and pour that right over. So this consistency is perfect, and what you wanna do is do it however you like to. You can pour it out just like this and kind of drizzle it all around, or you could do a dollop and have it kind of pour by itself. I like to do these nice designs.
And the crust completely, the icing is going to crust on top of your cake completely, just like a donut.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So this consistency for a glaze is what you're looking for. You don't want to let it go runnier than that.
And it's a nice contrast to your, sweetness of your cake. The lemon in this icing is going to be a very fantastic combination.
I agree. So what Chef Gehna is also going to do is she's going to add in some more of that lemon zest right on top to do just a final garnish. So I'm just going to do one last drizzle of that glaze to get it right.
It's already calling to me.
It is. I know, me too. And this looks perfect.
Okay, so we're going to start resting. You want to make sure you take only the yellow portion of your lemon. The white pit is going to be very bitter, so you want to make sure you're moving your lemon constantly while you are resting. Okay.
So adding in that lemon zest is really going to tie back to that lemon flavor and really brighten up your cake.
That's true.
So what we're going to do is set this aside, and I should pull out our madeleines that are already baked. So I'm just going to pull those out right now.
Brown butter is so fragrant because it's in the oven.
Yes, exactly. So this is our Madeleines. This is exactly the color that you are looking for. A very important tip is for you to unmold them straight after they come out. So what I'm gonna do is take this right out, slide it over here.
If your pan is greased well, they are going to just fall out of your pan.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure you grease it well with butter and dust it with flour in the beginning.
Exactly, and that's kind of like a non-stick coating that you're creating.
True.
And this works for cakes, madeleines, for any sort of batter that you're gonna bake in the oven. So what I'm gonna do is just lightly transfer these here, and we could already start plating. So as you can tell, you're gonna get a very beautiful shape of a shell, just like so. It's very beautiful. And these are really, in my opinion, they're kind of like a showstopper if you have them served together with your tea at any sort of gathering. They're really delicious and they pack a lot of flavor, and you could really change up the flavors, just like Chef Gehna
Lots
said.
of flavors you can try, and they're just the right amount of, size. When you're having something sweet, you don't want to overwhelm yourself as well after a meal. So these work perfectly.
Exactly. So what I'm gonna do is just scatter them all around over here. Where you'll get to see each and every piece of Madeleine, just like they look like heroes just standing. And these go really well with tea, with coffee, with any sort of drink, or you could even have them alone by themselves.
Yeah, and you can, pack them together with some other petit fours, the small desserts that you have.
Yes.
So you can always try a lot of variety when you have something so small. Okay, we're just going to dust them with this icing sugar a little bit. It's not necessary, but it just adds a little more flavor and look to your madeleines.
So here we have our 2 cake batters made from scratch. We made a lemon pound cake and some madeleines. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much, Chef Gehna, for being on the show.
I had so much fun baking with you, Chef Manaz.
Same here. Thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you guys next time on From Scratch.